Another way to get good texture in rock is to just take a sea sponge, wet it, and then just gently dab over the rock. This puts lots of nice little bumpy things into it. You just play with it until you get it the way you want it to look. Kind of rocky. The sea sponge does a nice job. There's another technique too you can use. Just take some plastic and crumple it up in your hand. You can do this with aluminum foil. Plastic crumpled up makes lots of wrinkles. And then just dab it into the surface. And all kinds of nice, interesting looking wrinkles and texture. Do that. Just showing you a bunch of stuff that different things you can try. And it gives a little texture. See the wrinkles that the plastic makes. It gives it a rocky looking texture. Now we'll just let that dry overnight and then we'll do our painting techniques and sealing. This is 24 hours later. Here's our two rocks now, having sat for 24 hours on our cement and mortar are both set in them. Let's take a look at them. You see the textures in this one. The plastic wrap that we used, brushed on. But it's all pretty much a uniform color. Now you can use that rock if you want, just the way it is. But we want to give it a little more realistic look with a paint job called speckling. First thing I'm going to do before I start painting though, is I'm going to clean the edges and show you that these things aren't real heavy. This is where it was sitting on the plastic. Comes right free. Just take a piece of wire and I'll just break off the edges here. Clean them up a little bit. You can use wire to clean that up, or you can take a rock and do the same thing. You can scratch it and clean off any rough spots. They got a little bit of exposed plastic there, or styrofoam, but that's okay. Well, not worried about that right now. We'll patch it up later if we want. So now we trimmed off the edges, and our rock is ready to go. We can place this in the pond after we seal it, and it makes a nice rock. It's not heavy. You can imagine what a rock that size would weigh. This probably weighs 7 or 8 pounds maybe. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you the technique. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this with a lot of different colors, but the idea is we want to get speckles on here. They're going to make this look like real rock. If you look at real rocks, you'll see that they're made up of many little spots or speckles of different colors. So the way I do it is I just simply use a whisk broom that I've trimmed the edges off of, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up color, diluted color. I'm going to dip it in the color. I'm going to shake off most of the paint, and then I'm going to tap lightly like this to get speckles of paint to fall on the rock. Okay. Now, if you really want to spend a lot of time to make a very realistic looking rock, you might have 10, 12 or more colors that you're going to put on this. but we'll just do a few just to show you what the technique is all about. And all I do is I take a container with let's do some something will show up a little bit. Let's do some buff color. So I'm going to use a little bit of this concrete colorant. You can use latex paint, dilute it. You don't want it real watery. What I like to do is just put a little bit of that in a container. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some acrylic. You can use plain water if you like, but I like to use the acrylic as it makes it stick real good and kind of gives it some waterproof. So put a little acrylic in there to water that down. I'll take the brush, stir it up a little bit, and then the idea, it's tiresome if you bang it on your hand, but I'm going to shake most of this paint out. And then what I do is I just lightly tap, like so. And I'm getting very tiny little speckles, and as the paint runs out on the brush, I can get a little harder, and it brings some of that to it. Now how much I put on here kind of depends on what I want the end color to be like. Let me see if I can zoom this thing in so you can see what I've just accomplished by just that little bit of tapping. Can you see those buff colored speckles that are now on there? Okay, we want those speckles to be very small, very tiny, tinier the better. And we'll continue to do that with this color and a number of other colors until we get the look that we want. Again, you shake off almost all of the paint. Remembering that when you first start to tap, you need to do that very lightly. And then as the brush, the whisk broom gets drier, you're going to tap a little harder. And you just make sure that you get your whole rock covered that way. And it kind of depends on, you know, at first you think, oh, that doesn't look very good, you just have one color. As you add more and more colors, the rock becomes more and more realistic. Okay, what you can do then is, once you've used that color, you can change the color very easily by simply adding white to it, adding black to it, make it darker or lighter, and having a second shade of the same hue. When you're near the end, you can put some greens in. Say with brown, the green would go real good. A lot of times what I do is I buy these little containers of acrylic paint and then mix them with water or acrylic and splatter those on. And finally, toward the end, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and do some black and some white on this and see what it looks like just with 3 different colors.